All right, I'd like to welcome everybody to the regular meeting of the Larkspur Planning Commission of Tuesday, February 11th, 2025, at the lovely Larkspur City Council chambers. Can we please have a roll call? Present.
Commissioner Chalmers.
Present.
Commissioner Wagstaff.
Present.
Commissioner Hull.
Here.
And Commissioner Campbell.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Excellent, thank you. Before we get going with our regular agenda, this is a time for any public comment on matters not on the agenda. So are there any people on Zoom or any people here who has any comments on matters not on the agenda?
If you're on Zoom and you'd like to provide a public comment, please raise your hand.
Seeing none, I will proceed. Can I have any community development directors reports?
I got word today or yesterday that the city has been awarded a $175,000 grant to study parking regulations. So I'm excited about that. I haven't got official word yet, but we had applied hoping that we can get some work done towards the Larkspur landing area, but also comprehensively look at all the other parking requirements while we're doing that.
Who's funding the grant?
Metropolitan Transportation Commission,
And
as
it's,
part of the transit-oriented development program.
well, that's great. Is it, what are you going to do with the information? Is it gathering information or is
Gathering
actually,
information, and then the grant also would then allow help amend all the policies and programs, like for the specific plans and the that are in conflict with any parking requirements that might come out of this. And then hopefully also have public workshops just to provide more education on, or more information on current parking standards and philosophy as part of that program.
but it's not for building, it's just to do the.
Just for the standards in our
Right.
codes,
Okay,
because we only have minimums and they want maximums around the transit areas.
Mhm.
But all of our parking, or a lot of it, is sort of out of date because we haven't looked at it in so long. So might be just a good opportunity to revisit all the requirements.
Okay,
So it'll be coming your way eventually.
great. All right, so then let's move on to public hearings. And the first item on the agenda, which is 17 Ridgeway Lane, APN 021-063-03, Earl Weiss applicant, Eva Foley property owner, First Residential Zoning District, Project 24-024. It's for a design review, a floor area ratio exception to permit a FAR of 0.42, 1,602 square feet, where currently 0.16 FAR is allowed of 600 square feet. A slope use permit to permit 30 cubic yards of cut and 30 cubic yards of fill on the site. A variance to permit a one-car garage with no setback from Ridgeway Lane, and a funicular with a 4-foot setback from the southern property line where 5 feet is required, as well as a variance to permit a natural state calculation of 48% when 59% is required by code. Can we have the staff report?
Yes, just a second here. Let me share my screen. Okay, good evening, commissioners. As you have just stated, this is PLN 24-024 for 17 Ridgeway Lane. Excuse me. So just for a bit of context, on the right is the street view of the property with the main home in the background and then the parking area in the foreground. And on the left is a highlight from Marin map showing the overhead view, which is a little obscured by the tree canopy. So the project seeks to construct a new one-car garage and a funicular, as well as a stairway to access the main home. The current stairway kind of zigzags across the lot. This one would be much more direct. And as designed, it would require approval of design review, floor area ratio exception, a slope use permit, and a few variances. Here's the site plan. You can see the garage here on the right with the 0 lot line, and then there are driveway improvements here next to it. These blue lines, that's the railing for the funicular and the path it would travel. And then the stairway is in a kind of pink purpley color. There's no work proposed to the main house, I should add here. Here's the floor plan of the garage. It's a zoomed in image of the next one. It'll be a one-car garage. just shy of the requirements for a 2-car garage. And then here are the elevations. The garage will be dug into the lot a little bit at the rear, so it will not appear as bulky from that elevation. And then on the right there, that's the profile view of the stairway and the funicular and the garage. So it does require approval of a floor area ratio exception because of the slope of the lot. The floor area allowed is 0.16. They are requesting a 0.42 floor area ratio. And there'll be approximately 60 cubic yards of cut and fill proposed to level the footprint for all the improvements. One of the things I do want to mention here, there's an existing redwood tree on site, and one of the attachments in the arborist report, the arborist said that the work should actually improve the health of the tree. There's a number of existing retaining walls and things that I think are problematic. So this should be an improvement in that regard. And then the variances that you had mentioned. So the garage, the face of it is directly on the lot line. It's required to have a 20-foot setback. And then funiculars, it's technically an accessory structure. So the side setback for that is 5 feet. They're at 4 feet. In this case, it's a pretty transitory use. So it won't be, sitting in one spot all the time in the setback, but should move. And then the natural state, which is areas that are left open and pervious on the lot. The calculation is basically 25% of the lot must be kept open and pervious plus whatever the percent of slope present. So here for this lot in particular, the requirement is to have 59% of the lot open and pervious. They are proposing a 48% natural state condition. You've received 3 public comments on this project. The first one was from 248 Madrone, who said that they were concerned with the size of the project as well as the potential construction impacts. You've received a letter from 12 Ridgeway that is concerned with construction impacts and access to their property. They said in the letter they don't have an actual position on the project itself, just the course of construction, and they've requested a condition of approval requiring the applicant to patch or repair and overlay the asphalt along Ridgeway Lane post-construction. And the 33 Millard, which is just north of the property, has submitted some photos and an email to you. They're opposed to the project and states that the work is going to occur on their property. And I want to state for the record, the project plans and survey show that there is no work proposed on their property. It's all within the property owned by 17 Ridgeway. So staff's recommendation tonight is that the commission hold a public hearing, consider public testimony, and approve the project subject to findings, conditions of approval, and a Class 3 CEQA exemption. I would recommend that you add the following condition of approval to those listed in the actual conditions of attachment 5, and that is for noise limits, so that prior to issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall revise the plans to show compliance with the noise limitations established in Larkspur Municipal Code, Section 9.54, which is the noise control regulation section of the code. So that concludes my staff report. I'm available for any questions you have, and the applicant and owner are here as well. Thank you.
So the condition would be for the noise during construction.
Through the lifetime of the use. So that funicular is going to have an electric motor.
Got it.
and
Understood.
There's a
Yeah.
decibel limit.
Right.
Yeah, to comply.
Got it. Okay.
I have a question. Yeah, is that funicular, is it noisy?
I think the applicant can tell you more about the motor. My
Okay.
understanding is it's all an electric, and I think there's a rubber wheel, he said. So it's going to
Okay,
be
we'll go,
fairly
yeah.
quiet.
And I had a couple questions. Is that okay?
Good. Yeah, sure.
Is about the road. I understand it's a private road.
Yes, that's what Public
So
Works.
who's responsible for maintaining that road?
I think the property owners.
All the property owners. So if one resident damages that road, is it their responsibility or everyone's responsibility to repair?
I think the city would say that it's a civil matter for them to work out.
Uh-huh.
The commission could condition the project to require those patchings and overlay work that was requested. But if someone were to walk into the counter and ask me if they had an argument with their neighbor about who's responsible for what aspect of the repair, we would tell them it's a civil matter and they need to
Mm.
work.
Yeah,
it out
I would-
amongst
But that
themselves.
is an option that we
I
could,
think that before we would make that kind of a condition, I think that we would have to get legal opinion about whether the city can make a condition on a private road like that. I'm not sure that we can.
I don't know that there's something would preclude us from requiring them to improve a private road if it's reasonably related to the project, but it would be difficult for staff it's difficult for staff to enforce. We could require some type of video. I mean, if it came down to a condition that Alex and I had to enforce, we'd probably have an engineer go out to do documentation before
Mhm.
and then at the end of the project. But what if someone else does a project in between or hires a tree company that knocks
Yeah.
out a hole? And so it's gonna still be, there still could be some dispute about what was their fault and what was not their fault.
Right. I mean, I just have experience with that living on Wiltshire and Ardmore. And Ardmore, that section of Ardmore is not city, is my understanding. And I think everybody is responsible for that on the thing. So okay, that's fine. You guys know. That's good. I'm glad you know that because I don't.
And another quick question is there a right of way? In other words, there's no, on the site plan,
On the subdivision map, it says that the subdivider retained the fee of the roads and the paths, but that anyone who bought property in the subdivision has a right of way over those paths and lanes, and unless something's changed since then, which sometimes things do.
it just didn't show the property lines from the other side, or so it's hard to tell what the right of way where the road actually could go one way or the other.
Yeah, I think it's only a partial survey. We
Yeah.
could pull up a, a parcel map, that would be helpful.
Maybe.
The parcel maps just don't show where the structures are, so that makes it difficult.
I'm sorry, one final thing. So I'm looking at the blueprints for here. There is no work on the actual house itself. This is all just the addition for the,
Yes, there's no changes proposed to the main home.
okay, I just wanted to be clear about that, yeah.
I was reading the letters from the neighbors. So will this construction block the step? There's some stone steps that go to the house that's if you're facing the house, it's on the right, higher. Will this construction block that staircase? Or is that a question for the applicant?
I think the applicant could give you a better answer.
Okay.
They will have to provide a construction management plan that shows where everything's going to be stored and how it will be accessed. And I don't think Public Works would sign off on something that blocks access to
Right.
another property during construction.
And I guess the question, so maybe the applicant can address this. And it's especially at the end, like once it's finished, is there still going to, that staircase will still be available? So I can leave that for the applicant to answer.
Yeah, the staircase that you're talking about is the one that belongs to 33 Millard. So the applicants, that's not on their property to, the only staircase they're touching is the one that exists
Okay.
on 17 Ridgeway.
Why do we have?
I've got actually one more.
Yeah,
It's sort of a technical one. So the natural state calculation, does that include the funicular tracks in any way?
It includes both places where the funicular may sit,
Right.
but not the tracks
Gotcha.
themselves.
Okay.
I also have some questions. How do you get to 1,602 square feet? I haven't been able to figure that out.
That's from records that we have from, it's a 900 and change. He can probably answer this. There's the main home, and then there's an ADU that's constructed at the lower level. of
Oh,
the
okay.
home. So I just pulled that number from city records.
Okay. And then the garage 0-foot setback, there's a parking pad there now. Is that 0 setback? Is that also on the?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think they'll be
That's what it looks
constructed
like
in
that
a
one.
very similar
Okay.
location. This one will have a nicer approach into it though than that one.
And then my last question is, the neighbors that brought up the drain that was supposed to have been done by a previous owner. What happens in a situation like that where it's not done? You know, do we have a responsibility that we didn't know that it wasn't done? Or,
I think the building official had looked into that. Unfortunately, I don't remember what the conclusion of that was. But I think the applicant is prepared to address that.
Okay.
I believe, yeah.
Okay, great. And then just a clarification, so the neighbor that said that the garage is being built on the neighbor's property, this is 33 Millard.
Yeah.
Millard. Is that correct? Is the garage in any way infringing on their property?
No, the plans and surveys all show the wall of the garage closest to that property. It's 5 feet away from the property line of 17 Ridgeway that it shares with 33. Mulberry.
Okay, so the entire construction will be on the applicant's
Yes,
property?
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, why don't we have the applicant give their presentation?
Good evening, commissioners. I'm Earl Weiss. I'm the architect on the project. And if I could sum this up, we're trying to clean up a lot of bad conditions that are existing out there right now. The owner just bought this a year ago. The previous owner, he liked to dig. He wasn't so good about putting in retaining walls. That's number one. But I had three major things: fire, accessibility, and site stability out there. So with fire, I actually walked with the fire department. As you know, it's a very narrow lane. And even if they were to put a truck in there, they can barely open the door. So part of this is we're going to do a wider driveway. We're going to lower it a little bit from the parking pad. And to your answer, no, the parking pad is still forward. And we're asking for a 3-foot front variance simply because we're trying to stabilize that giant redwood tree. We don't have to do that. We could dig more, but I felt like if we were, please keep in mind that the property line is much further back than the edge of the road. So by the time we put in a parking apron, there should be an area there for delivery trucks, for all of the rest of that. This happens sometimes. I got caught out a little bit on this one. I was dealing with Jackie, the previous planner. She told me the side setback on the funicular, because it wasn't a fixed thing, was 4 feet. We can move it to 5 feet if that's a problem. The drivetrain on this is very similar to electric car. As we know, electric cars now have to add noise. They're so quiet. This is the same sort of thing. It's rubber wheels. Now, the concept, especially with the tree there, the owner, one of the reasons she bought it is this tree. And again, the previous owner, staircases, retaining walls that are falling down. Our idea is to take all of that away and try to go back to natural grade. And so the staircase actually floats over the grade. We were going to put in just 15 feet apart some pier pads with kind of a square top. And then we thought, well, we can just hang the tracks of the funicular, so it doesn't really touch the ground. You'll have 3 pier pads. And then that was the whole concept, is so we can actually landscape underneath both the stairs and the funicular. The reason for the funicular, my client is retired. She wants to age in place. It's 3 sets of stairs. Right now, it looks like hell. What we're trying to do is we're trying to clean it up. We're trying to get the trash, everything in a garage. Now, I also realized that the whole parking narrow stair or narrow lane is an issue. So we believe that we're going to be able to maneuver with a wider door and a bigger apron. But because this is new construction, I don't know. You guys probably don't deal with this too much. In the city, it's a turntable for a car. And what we're going to do is we're going to pre-install all of the stuff in the concrete. It's easy to do that now. And if the parking does continue to be a problem, we'll put a turntable in. And so the car only goes one way. We did, when she moved in, there's one driveway that I think it's 10. They park on the side of the road. Everybody turns around, backs up into this driveway, and she's okay with that. But it's not the right thing. We're trying to correct an existing problem, even though it's been a problem for a long time. The last thing, the condition of the road, especially the last half of it, is a mess. We will clean that up. Normally, as a courtesy and a thank you, excuse our mess with the neighbors, we'll repair potholes and things like that. The biggest problem with that road right now is there's a giant redwood tree very close to Madrone, and the roots are coming up through that. And we will not touch any roots of a redwood for any reason. We can patch around them, but that's a lot of stuff. If you have any questions, please. And I would also say, if anybody's listening, we did send out, I always send out letters. I like neighbors to contact me. I don't like surprising anybody. So from now, if anybody has a question, smallest thing, please contact me. I have all my contact stuff up on the site and I'll continue to do that. So if there's any questions, I'll quit going on here and let you take over.
Turntable, you're not proposing that immediately. That's something that you're considering later.
Yes. And I had a feeling you'd ask. I brought a cut sheet in. Like I said, we do these when you have like in the city, you have a lot of really busy one-way streets, really dangerous to back out.
Yep.
These are super simple.
I mean, the reason I ask is because if you didn't mention it, I was going to suggest it. So,
Okay, well,
yeah.
I'm glad we got to that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would suggest you just do it
Well,
personally.
but we're certainly going to, I didn't want to get stuck into saying, we're going to do it if we didn't need it. So I'm hoping with a 16-foot wide apron
Mhm.
and a wider garage door, we'll have the room, but we're definitely not going to take that for granted and we'll be, it's really, you need a control box, you need some conduits and the rest of it's pretty, they're pretty simple actually.
Yeah, it just might be easier. I mean, again, this is a planning and a building permit issue. It may be easier to get that permit for that instead of having to go back and getting it. So, just a thought.
I had two questions. So can you just confirm what I asked earlier about the stone staircase that was going up?
Yes.
Can you confirm that's going to
Yes,
be?
that's 33 Millard. And
Mhm.
so it's a different address. She's worried that there's an emergency and they need to use those stairs to access her thing, but that's the end of Ridgeway. That's not our property and will no way impact that. Another thing that came up with that was water and drainage. It's tough. I know that there was an old permit that wasn't filled out, but I have been working with the building department trying to figure out a way to do a disbursement at the bottom of the lot. How does he normally do that? You don't like to put concentrated water. There is a terrible little drain thing in there, and I'll take a look to see if it needs to be cleaned out. But I am aware of those things, and we will be addressing those particularly in detail at the building permit phase of all of this.
So once the garage is completed, the owner of the 33 Millard will still have access to
Oh,
Ridgeway down the staircase?
Absolutely.
Okay,
The garage will be pushed back from where the current parking pad is now.
I went out
And
there.
right now, the fences, I don't know who put those up, but they kind of zigzag on and off the property line, which is another important thing. We always have a surveyor set nails. So we put the building exactly where it's shown on the drawing. And that the closest that should be is 5 feet to her property line.
Great, thank you. And then my second question was, again, going back to the neighbors' letters, because they just had concerns. And I mean, what can we say? And then maybe this is a question for staff as well as for you, is what can you say or do to reassure them that during the construction process, they will still be able to, this is during construction, not once it's completed, that they can still access their properties? Like how can you
Yeah, and
address that?
That's particular. I think it's 12 because it's so tight for them to pull out. They have to actually go beyond Ridgeway on the other side. And this is one of the bane of my existence because we did do an interior remodel, which is why there's no other, we're trying to clean up the outside right now. And of course, you yell at people, you put signs up and they constantly do that. The only thing I tried to do last time was get a camera down there that would alert me if somebody was parking down there. And even then, any inconvenience. So we're aware of the problem. Long term, we're trying to make it wider. So anybody that's parking there, the short term, we can just keep trying our best. And I know it's going to be a hassle and I apologize in advance. We will do everything we possibly can. But to say that nothing will ever happen, I'm just going to get myself in trouble. I mean,
Okay.
the road's 10 feet wide, so.
And just in case they're all listening or they're here, what does short-term mean for that short-term pain? How long are we talking about?
For the construction period?
Yes.
That's a good question. I'm guessing 6, 8 months.
6 to 8 months.
But that
okay.
won't be consistent
Mhm.
because most of this is site work. And that's going to be your concrete retaining walls and then backfilling and trying to redo the grading. The carpentry portion goes pretty fast. And I did send Alex complete specs on this funicular. They actually, there's a couple of them in Mill Valley, Sausalito, San Anselmo has one. They do them all over the country. If anybody wants more information on that, and it'll take them 3 days once we get the infrastructure in. This is something that's all they do.
Okay, thank you.
I'm very curious about funiculars. I mean, I love the word funicular. Do you know of any in Larkspur? Yeah, I haven't
There's a
seen, I
lot
mean,
in
I think
Sausalito.
there's some, and I think in Belvedere,
And
there's
Mill
a
Valley,
few
yeah.
up on Belvedere. Yeah, just curious.
And to answer your question, I don't like those because they're too messy. That's why I wanted to do our tracks kind of skimming the ground so we could landscape underneath it. And another thing about a funicular, oh, it sounds like you're gonna be zipping up and down. It's like a private home elevator. They're really slow.
Yeah.
You're normally just putting stuff in there, or if you're aging in place, and this is your only way up and down out of your house, I don't anticipate it being used. Seldom would be my guess.
I mean, they're great for groceries and bring, that
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Heavy things.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had one more question.
Sure.
You mentioned that you could push back the bottom of the funicular to 5 feet.
Yeah, if it's an issue, like I
And-
said, I was told under the last one
Right.
because it's not really a fixed structure. It's all open. It's 2 tracks and the
Right.
car is 4 feet by 5 feet. So it's a tiny thing.
If they can do that, is that one less variance that we could have to?
Is it because she was measuring to the track and not the structure, this
I-
moving
I-
structure?
No, she said
That'd be good.
because it's not really it's not a building. It's not something that's set in place like that. And because this is so low to the ground and there's no, I mean, maybe she'll put a top on it. At most time, it's just it's this high, it's not very high off the ground. And so there's not a lot of impact. I don't know why she came up that conclusion. Like I said, I hate asking for variances unless there's a really good reason. The front is a very good reason. I really want to secure the slope, and part of that slope is the redwood. Can we dig it out? Sure. But I personally think it's the wrong decision. And so I would much rather start with the right decision than anyway.
Okay, thank you.
I've got one, I think. You mentioned, I just want to confirm, the setback of the garage from the front yard would be 0. I thought I heard you mention 3 feet, but I just wanted to confirm.
On a lot this size, and this is again what the Larkspur planners told me, there was a 3-foot setback. And so I thought, well, we could dig 3 feet back, but you're just getting closer and closer to the tree. So I didn't see a reason for that.
And just to clarify on top of that, I misspoke and it is a 3-foot setback on steep slopes for a garage, not 20 feet like I had said in the PowerPoint. So just FYI.
Back to the 5-foot setback, would there be a hardship to not request a variance for that one?
What it does is it makes the base more constricted. I'm trying to, I'm really like, I'm glad that Alex brought up the front of this thing. It looks like hell, this wood and zigzaggy. And so we were trying to separate the stairs and, to create a sense of entry at the bottom. And so, it's a foot. Can we do with a foot? Yeah. There's luckily on that side, there's no houses, there's no structures. So since it's set at 4 feet, I'd like to ask for it, but if you guys say no, we'll move it over.
Well, the reason I meant is because you do have one neighbor that's not liking that idea, and not like you say, applying, asking for a variance sets a precedent, and it's just something that unless it's a massive hardship and you can't do the project unless it is, we'll say maybe in our discussion, we can
Okay,
discuss that.
what it does is it pushes the stairs
Mhm.
against the house. And there is, again, we didn't do this ADU. She bought it with a little ADU.
Mhm.
And it makes getting in and out of the ADU a little trickier
Mhm.
because it's more of a hook shot with the stairs.
Mm.
But, you know,
Can I ask you quick, how wide is the lot?
oh, it's really narrow. I don't have the
Because
number.
I can't, it's so tiny. that-
It is a tiny, the lot is, I think it's less than 4,000 square feet, which is why we're into FAR, and it's steep, which is why we're into FAR and all of that. And that's another reason why I'm trying to get a sense of entry at the bottom.
37?
Might be.
Yeah, 37, that's about right.
Yeah.
3751.
Yeah, the survey says 37.5 foot frontage. I can zoom in. Yes.
Yeah, and then the lot is 3750.
All right.
And this doesn't have any, it doesn't affect anything, but how old is the house?
Oh, it started off in the late 1800s. And then they kind of filled in porches and things like that. And then the recent remodel, we were modernizing plumbing and electrical. And it's been there a long time. As a matter of fact, the back, I'm not even sure there was a foundation. They used to put the redwood plates right on the ground.
Yeah,
like
it
almost
looks,
like
it
a
looks like a
earthquake.
summer cabin.
Yeah, that's exactly what
know.
it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question for staff. So going back to the FAR variance, we're having to approve that because the house has never been approved at this size?
That residence has been existing, I think, long before FAR. It's in
Okay.
its current configuration. It's already over the limit. So.
Right, but I thought there was like a grandfathering that happens when they're that old and predate the LMC. No? No? Okay, just curious.
And then regarding the road,
Yes.
and it is in pretty poor condition because I was going to drive down it and I didn't. I just parked on my drone and walked down. You said that you would be open to repairing, repaving, but you don't want to go anywhere near the roots of the redwood tree.
Right. Okay. Certainly, we always take care of any damages that we do.
Mhm.
I mean, that should be written into your code.
Yeah.
And I always suggest that if there's something, even if we didn't like a pothole to
Mhm.
fill that in, to commit to like a full repaving job. That's, I think I can't volunteer for that. That's a lot of time and money. And the reality is, as you said, it's in bad condition right
Right.
now. And certainly the end of it in front of our house, we'll be doing all of that.
Yeah.
And so when they have a crew out, we'll definitely tune the thing up.
Okay. That's just something we can talk about here on the commission. Thank you.
All right. I think, any other comments? from staff?
No.
No?
Thank you,
Okay.
commissioners. And
Thank
if you have any other questions, I'll
Great.
jump right out.
Thank you.
Okay.
Does the applicant want to come up?
Yeah, do you want to have any, as the applicant, any?
Do you want to go up to the podium, please? Thank you.
No, no problem.
About the road, I just want to make clear that we're talking about two different redwood trees. There is my redwood tree that we're trying to support and the arborist thinks this is a good idea. And then there's the redwood tree at the essentially entrance to the lane near Madrone. And those are the roots that are affecting the road. And I think that's going to be a very difficult thing to correct. And I am driving my very low car over that, and I would sure like for it to be fixed, but I just don't think that's within our scope. So I just want to make sure that we're all talking about
Mhm.
the correct.
Yeah,
trees.
two different redwood
Yeah.
trees. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Actually, can I ask a question of the applicant? Is there a is there some type of agreement on the road maintenance in place
Oh.
already?
A JMA, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
There should be. I'm not aware of one, but to your point, even if hey, let's just pave this thing, let's turn it into country. Well, we don't own it. And we
Mhm.
have to get, written permission from everybody to do that. So it makes it tricky that we commit to something that we're technically not authorized to do.
And then my other question, I guess, is more for staff. I'm very confused about 9 to 13 Ridgeway. What is that? Because it doesn't exist on like Google Maps. I couldn't find parcel maps. There's a sign, it says 9 to 13. It looks like a greenhouse is there, some sort of glass. But beyond that, I was like, what? It looks like it's the back of that property on Madrone on the corner. It's very confusing.
Yeah, I was trying to do a little research since we had corresponded about that. We do have individual records for projects at, I think, 9 and maybe 13 as well.
In the.
But yes, the parcel maps all show it as one property. So I didn't get to finish it, but it could be that their addresses for other units.
Currently, there's 3 houses on Ridgeway. There's the 2 on the right, 10, and I think it's 12.
10 and 12.
17 and 11.
17, yeah.
The greenhouse is actually, it's a beautiful monster backyard, but their address is,
It's Madrone,
On
yeah, because
Madrone.
it says, I mean, because it says that property is like 0.4 acres. I was like, wow,
Right.
that's a big lot for, especially when right next to it is this little teeny one. But there's a sign that says 9 to 13 Ridgeway, and then one of the neighbors kept referencing, the 9 to 13 Ridgeway having their access blocked. So I was trying to understand what's at 9 to 13.
the biggest problem that I'm aware of is at 12 across the
Right.
street, because they have to make the big sweep. They
Right,
put 2 cars in the driveway, and so they don't have they have to go beyond the 1 car to turn. And so
right.
that's
No, I
where-
wouldn't want to live on that road, myself, but that was, I made the mistake of starting to go down it and then backing into 10's driveway to get out and park on Madrone.
Right.
But I noticed that there were all the no parking signs in front of whatever 9 to 13 is. And, was just trying to understand the makeup of this strange little road.
So I just was able to do a little more digging. So they all used to be separate lots, and then they were merged
Ah,
in 2011 into
okay.
one.
Oh,
large
okay.
lot.
Oh, okay.
You mean
9 to 13 is part of was it 234 Madrone?
the one on the
Yeah.
corner?
Merger 1136 approved, merging 9 and 13 Ridgeway and 234 Madrone.
Interesting. Okay.
That's a beautiful house.
Yeah.
The one on the corner.
Yeah, the greenhouse
Yeah.
looks really
I
good too.
know. Wait, you designed that? Is it? You're kidding. Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
It's a
Small
flex.
world.
Um,
Good job.
Brock did all the beautiful
Okay,
houses and.
sorry, ready?
Yes.
Let's get back on track. So absent any other comments up here, let's open it up to public comment. And just identify yourself and where you
Good
live.
evening. My name's Jay Blumenfeld. My wife and I, we live at 12 Ridgeway Lane, have for the past 23 plus years. I can speak to a lot of the history that's being questioned here about the lane. And yes, 234 has consumed lots periodically around them. The owner is a master gardener. You've all seen how beautiful that is. As we noted, our concerns, we respect people should have the right to improve their properties within reason. You guys are all here to judge on that and determine what's acceptable. I'm a builder of 40 plus years and do some work on the most challenging properties in Marin County, the Bay Area, beyond. I'm well versed in what they're proposing. Our biggest concern is our access to and from our home. And just to clarify, the retaining walls that are being referenced on 17 right now, the wood walls that are arguably not in great shape, that was not created by the prior owner to the applicant. Those have been there for decades. Again, this property goes back to the 1800s. The most recent improvement by the prior owner of this property was the parking pad that you see concrete. And The application is a bit deceptive because the photograph shown on it is from prior ownership, not the current applicant. That shows a Jeep parked in the dirt, almost leading one to believe there's a hardship there. You all have seen what the parking pad that's in place is. And that's what was permitted and put in by the prior owner. So that's how the property was purchased by the current owner. Again, our concern goes back to our free ingress and egress to our property. And I can tell you that we've been through 3 consistent years of construction. Prior owner for 2, current owner over the last year. We appreciate the improvements. However, it has not been managed well at all. And I can tell you on a daily basis, even this morning, there are vehicles parked at the end. They may not be blocking our drive regularly, although that does happen. It's used as though it's a private parking area. And you both, by way of documentation, you all understand 228 Madrone burned down. Our property burned down before the home we're in was built. We have medical emergencies that have happened on the property. We currently have a situation in our household that will require daily access by car due to a medical condition that will be going on for the better part of this year and into next year. All we're asking for is consideration during this process that we're not impacted. By way of being this builder I can appreciate deliveries are necessary. There will be concrete pours. There will be excavation and off-haul. That can all be managed in a construction management plan. The application even states work will be confined to the property site. That's not Ridgeway, okay? I am tired of coming home or wanting to leave and getting into a shouting match with somebody who's telling me, no, we'll move in 10, 15 minutes. The geotechnical drilling that took place for what I assume is the funicular. I've got photos here of the van that parked in front of the 9 to 13 Ridgeway. And yes, she has a man gate there to access her gardens. Her gardeners come through there. It is, as pointed out by applicant, the only way we can get in and out of our driveway, which when our house was built prior to us living there, it was mandated, it was grandfathered in, the FAR, so we can appreciate all that. But it was also an opportunity for the city to say, we want 4 off-street parking spots, 2 in a garage, 2 in a driveway, okay? That's there. But the access to and from requires that we sweep around into what was the old drive apron, basically for 9 to 13. If cars park there, we can't get in and out. So the geotechnical drilling that took place for this project, the vans parked there. I have photos of it here if you want to see them. My wife asked them to move. They said, will be done shortly. And then, of course, you know, by way of means and methods, which is really not your purview, but it has to be spoken because we're being assured that we won't be inconvenienced. There was no USA marking, no underground service alert. So they're drilling in areas where we all know utilities live, right? That's a problem. Again, managing your project is the difficult part. Building is the easy part. So really, these are the considerations we're after. It's not something we want to be having taken lightly. That's why we delivered what we did by way of counsel to you. We support people improving their property. We understand the impetus for what the applicant's trying to achieve here, but we cannot be compromised. That's not appropriate. Okay. By way of history with the lane, you bring up the paving. I brought up the paving issue. The 3+ years of construction activity has absolutely degraded it. Okay. The redwood tree that is being referenced down adjacent Madrone at the lane, that's not the issue. There's a tree further up the lane, right at the corner of 228 Madrone's driveway and parking. That's the one that has a root system that's elevated, has been like that since the lane was rebuilt. When 228 Madrone was approved to be built, it was mandated by the city as a condition of approval that from Madrone beyond to the property line, which would be the northern boundary of 228, that the lane had to be redone. We're told that the builder at the time took it upon himself to repave the entire lane as a sign of good faith and good gesture at the end of the project. Ironically, the previous lane was concrete, top to bottom. And as we all know, concrete performs far better over time than asphalt paving. The minute water gets under asphalt paving, it starts to degrade. That's why I brought up the drainage issues at the top of the lane. The owners of 33 Millard, their stairs, our lane becomes, I don't know if any of you were there over the last 3 weeks. Our lane becomes a creek in the winter. And the waterfall from down those stairs, down the lane, our sub-drain system goes to a bubbler in the drain. It all migrates down the drain, down the lane to an inlet at Madrone, where it's captured and put into the city's storm system. The drain that we were told was going to be put in when this parking pad was developed didn't get put in. And now the water that's coming down those stairs is getting dammed and flowing over, but inevitably it's going underneath the AC paving. Previously, it used to just run adjacent the asphalt in the dirt. So it created its own natural course before it found sheet flow a little further down. I think that needs to be addressed just for long-term viability of this lane and what it needs to do. Yeah, I think that really summarizes our primary concerns. Again, we should not be subject to not enjoying our property on a daily basis. And even in the staff report I read today, there's a note that says the proposed project will not be detrimental to the health, safety, morals, comfort, convenience, or general welfare of the public or persons residing or working in the neighborhood of such use. It already has. It has affected us in our daily lives. Okay? All I'm asking is for some consideration, but this ends. We're not saying don't do your project. Mother Nature, this past week, we've been having these storms. It took down applicants' power line. PG&E came out, safe off everything. Then they came back, obviously, applicant couldn't stay there, no power. PG&E came back, they blocked the end of the lane and our driveway for over an hour. Understandable, has to be done. We didn't get any notification, not an outreach, not a phone call, not an email. Applicant's architect states that a letter was sent by him to all of us neighbors. Call me anytime you want, I'm here for you. We got a letter from the applicant, not the architect, that went to all the neighbors explaining the process and the project with a little drawing. I reached out immediately via email and I said, hey, Eva, I'd like to get to understand a bit more about what you're proposing. Could I talk to your architect? Didn't hear anything. I've tried to reach out 2 other times, no response. So you can imagine it makes us feel like we don't want to talk to you because you might tell us something we don't want to hear. And again, we're not saying we're not in support of them getting what they want by way of a project. We can't be ignored in terms of our quality of life.
Got it. So,
And I think it's important, you know, by way of context, again, there's a lot of history on this lane. 23 years may seem like a long time. The owner at 234 Madrone has lived there over 40 years. The owner at 10 Ridgeway, our direct neighbor, has been there for over 30 years. So there's a lot of history and knowledge by way of the residents on this lane. Likewise, the owners of 33 Millard. So I think it's important for the commission to really take all this in and understand the nuance here. I don't disagree.
Right.
If
All right.
it's
Yeah,
truly.
we've got a 3-minute limit, so you're
Okay,
well
sorry.
beyond it. but-
The last thing I wanted to say is if it truly is a privately maintained lane, and I've heard all sorts of arguments that that's the case. I know that the city maintains, Public Work maintains the power poles, the lighting and what have you. If an agreement between the homeowners is to be implemented, this is probably an opportune time to do so, right? And I don't know to what extent the commission or the town has any say in that,
Yeah.
or if it's truly up to the property owners.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's would be a legal opinion from the city.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Blumenthal. Okay. Anybody else? Actually, I'm gonna have the people on Millard come up. Go ahead.
Hi. First of all, thank you. I've been to meetings and I appreciate all your effort and the time you really take and the questions just tonight that you've asked. And I know it's sometimes a thankless job. Anyway, um, my name is Judith Hartman. And my husband, Dr. John Hartman, I've owned my house for going on 44 years, third generation in this county, heavily vested in time, energy, have a very old, over 100-year-old home, which we have worked on diligently to make it as great as we could with our means. Our staircase is the stone one that goes to the road. And just today, my daughter's in town. We were going to take a walk, and sure enough, right at the bottom is a big truck. They're doing work. Well, it took up the lane really with about maybe a yard to go around. So I had to ask the worker to park on my drone. However, the car was left there while he was working and he wasn't carrying anything back and forth. And this has happened a lot. But before property lines were established, this house was evidently built, and it's built on the property line on our side. There is zero property on our side. So when the previous owners were there, they were putting a house up for sale. And we had to build a fence because realtors and people thought that our land went with the house, and it didn't. And they were taking dirt out. Even realtors were digging our dirt up. And the previous owner was a digger. Yes. And that pad is under our deck. Beyond that pad is a bunch of property we own, because the house does not have property on our side, but we have 13,000 square feet of property, not 3,000. And we pay taxes and keep up this land. And the point I'm making is when the house was being sold to the Ranahans, we put up this fence and we said, hey, we know you don't have property, but we'll leave you 3 feet, so you can work on your house, which they were doing a lot of work. And that didn't turn out so well. They didn't really follow the rules of letting us know. And Miss Foley has taken over that property pretty much and put trenches in on the back of the fence, planter boxes and whatever she pleases, but it's not her property, it's ours.
Good.
So can we confirm that with staff? Is the fence line on the applicant's property by 3 feet?
I mean, as, yeah, they describe it, the fence is on the neighbor's property, but we just don't get involved in neighbor disputes about property lines and easements. So what they're proposing isn't anywhere near where they're talking about this dispute.
Yeah, so
Got
that's
it.
actually right. So let's keep to the relevant.
I agree. I could go, well, I've spent 3 years with the town back and forth with issues of all this. And originally, the pad I was told was not supposed to be there and the permit was a deck permit. I don't know. But I'm wondering also if there's a topographical survey submitted.
It's the one that was just on the screen here.
Oh.
So this green line here is that's the fence,
Mhm.
and then this blue line here, that's the property line. And that's my measurement. That's, yeah, the corner of the structure to the property line. It's about 6 inches, but there's no work proposed there.
The stone steps going down to Ridgeway is our access to our lower property.
Mhm.
And right now.
Could you point, keep that up there? so
With
we
the
can see?
garage. Oh.
Yeah, no, I see. I just want to see it on the screen there. Okay.
I mean, maybe you have a picture. I sent the stone steps and the gate. In the email.
Yeah, these are stone
Mhm, mhm. But not on, that's not on their property.
That is. The stone steps are on 33 Millard property,
Your
right?
property, right, not
Yeah,
on the subject property.
Exactly. So it's one step. So it looks
Right.
like
You-
that's.
So your concern is, let me just summarize your concern. Your concern is that the bottom stone steps, if there's construction vehicles there, but the actual stone steps are on your property. Correct, right. Okay, just wanted to be clear. Mhm.
Now, if I open the gate, which is a small gate.
The screen one.
Mhm, yeah.
Bigger entrance, it literally touches the fence that is there now, carport.
Hmm.
I mean, I could stand on my stone steps and if the garage was put in and my neighbors there would shake hands. That's how close this garage is to our property. And it blocks a good portion of our property from emergency services, fire truck, ambulance. Like a fire truck is very large in that lane. It would, here's the gate and here's the tent. And this wall was put in without our knowledge. They put their sewer line in without our permission last, when the Ranahans were there. We had a brick wall they destroyed, took down and put up this wall, not these people, but the previous owners. So this gate and the stone steps, that little bit of land, then they have a step I have to step up on to go down the road.
Mhm.
That right there.
Got it.
I think, there you go. Did it really have to come all the way over to my steps? Someone said they went too far out in the street. Should have been back. I agree, but I don't know. I don't have the survey. Also, there it is. It's another picture of the lamb beyond that or up above or.
I don't think so.
Okay, this fence, I think Jay was talking about up there, has been up there since I bought the house. And I think it was put up there to provide, you know, a setback. Our property is not a side yard setback. It's the back of our property. Or it could be the front because it was a duplex, our house. So the city civic center said, the surveyors said if we wanted to turn it back to a duplex, it would be possible, quite possible. Originally, that's what it was. So there's a doorbell at the bedroom, at the top of these stone steps, and there's a bedroom there. And this here area around Ridgeway, that's our property to Jay's house, all the way over to his house. I was told the lane being private that we owned half the lane on this side and our neighbors on the other half. And that's what I was told. So if they're going to put lumber and cement and leave it overnight, I have a safety concern with fire.
So let me just summarize again. Your concern is construction management. It seems like that's your main concern.
Well, it has not really, as Jay said, worked well in the past.
Okay, got it.
But my main concern is protecting our property from fire. With all the fires in Southern California, and often it was said the homes were built too close together in the first place and should have had more space, and they could have avoided a lot of neighborhoods all going down. Well, I do not feel, honestly, I have enough space between our property and this potential garage. If I can stand there, my arm will go like this. And my neighbor's arm like that.
Yeah.
We're talking.
Yeah.
This is what I have to do to get to my property, you know? And
Yeah.
if you're a big man or
Yeah.
a partner, how did they do it?
Yep. All right.
I'm going on.
Yes, you're going over. Yeah.
South, you know, southern part of the property, or under the house built into the hillside, or a tandem garage, or something a little less invasive and taking up so much space. It would be better.
All right.
It's a big project.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. You wanted to say something? Yeah.
Is there anyone on Zoom?
We do have
There's-
one person
there's
on
one
Zoom. I don't
comment
know
on
if you
Zoom.
want.
I'm sorry. We have one comment on Zoom and then we will get to you. Sorry about that.
Okay, the number ending 1402. Oh, I have to do it over here. You'll be able to speak in just a second. Okay, you should be able to unmute yourself and speak.
James Holmes Larkspur. In light of the extreme access and construction problems here, it would seem like there should be additional administrative proceedings either at the commission or staff level with regard to the construction management plan. It clearly needs more attention. Also, there seems to be a possible police issue here with access blocked. I mean, I call the police when my access is blocked. So I think that both police and construction management attention is warranted. However, my primary comment relates to the color of the stairs and the funicular equipment. Currently, there is wood and there's going to be a lot of metal up there. I'd like to see the wood railings, but if they have to be metal, I think the metal should be a black or dark brown to minimize the color so that it doesn't read like a mass of metal up on the hillside, because if you look at the rendering, you will see that railing is very, very prominent. Normally, one wouldn't be so concerned about railings, but here the railing is very, very prominent visually from off-site. So that should be dark to minimize it. And also, there seems to be some unclarity in the plans, or at least my reading of the plans, with regard to whether the stairs are going to be wood or metal or stone, because page A41 refers to wood stairs, and page A0.0 refers to a steel stairway with stone treads. But that's in the stairway notes. So in any event, all that metal should be dark colored, so that, as I say, it doesn't look like a mass of metal on the hillside. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Holmes. All right, now.
Okay, we have definitely some clear issues here. Now, if we can magically put this in and make the lane wider, it'd make all these problems go away. And the problem is we got to get equipment in to do that. And I apologize to you because I didn't realize that you were trying to communicate with me. That will not happen. As part of the construction management plan, you always give notification. There was an emergency down there where we had down power lines and PG&E did show up. But now that we know that this is an ongoing issue, now with the water issue coming down the stone stairs, we can't control that. This isn't on our property. If there is a drainage line in the middle of the road, we'd love to access it. We'd love to put our water into that. Apparently, there was an old application by the previous owner. This is news. This is something that clearly we will look at going forward. But I'm hearing loud and clear construction management, construction plan. And right now, that temporary ugly black tent out there, that's about 4 or 5 feet. Everything is going back from there. I don't know if you were out there and saw the story poles where the face of it is. And then again, from that point forward, that's actually going to be a flat area. I hope that answers any questions.
Actually, yeah. Can I, I'm looking, I took some pictures when I was out there.
Okay.
So what I'm looking at is the black tent.
Yes.
And you're saying that,
Do you see to the side of the black tent, how there's a sloped piece of wood?
yes, that's where the garage stops?
Yes. Yes.
What about the steps that come down?
We're going to take those out and move those back as well.
So, okay,
Yeah, no.
okay, it's a lot further back
The
than I
guy
thought.
almost
Okay.
did a disservice putting that parking pad in because
Right.
it's too close. There's a huge cut. Please look at your photos. He cut like 8 feet and he just put in a little wall. I mean, that's the most irresponsible. And to the neighbors up there earlier, this guy was irresponsible. We're trying to restabilize this site. This is the access to, and I know the construction, it's a tight lane. And so clearly more communication is warranted. I hear that loud and clear. And again, I apologize that we did not communicate earlier. I can only move forward.
Got it. Thank you. Sorry.
Sure.
Something on that. Or by way of the placement of the story poles and what appears to be trying to get the garage structure down and have, because I agree, what was built previously is terrible. In fact, we had more cars get stuck and almost take out our electric meter when they were showing the house, proving that cars couldn't pull up in there. One thing I would offer up by way of knowledge, the steep radius from the asphalt to the concrete parking pad that's in place is there because of the sanitary district. There is a manhole on the stairs of 33 Millard, the stone steps, that the sanitary district, Ross Valley, maintains. The sanitary lateral comes down the lane. We all tie into that lateral.
Mhm.
They did an emergency repair and held up the pour for the concrete pad that's in place right now. because they needed to do a repair of their lateral there, which is extremely shallow. I don't know that you'll get the cut you're looking for without getting them involved.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll have to get them involved, because to your point, what's there doesn't work. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Any other comments? All right, let's bring it back to the commission. Mrs. Hull,
Make me start first.
absolutely.
Well, this has definitely been interesting. First adding a funicular to Larkspur, I think is definitely interesting. And definitely, I think the smallest lot I've seen in my 1-year tenure on this planning commission. I can make the findings for the design review. I think the design is fine. I don't know that the color of the railings that Mr. Holmes brought up was that concerning to me. I can certainly make the findings for the floor area ratio exception. The house has been there a very long time. And we're not going to ask them to cut it back or take it down, despite how close it is, too close to a property line. It's been there a long, long time. So, you know, if you bought your property at Millard and it was in that location, you bought it in full knowledge. So I'm sorry, but I don't have sympathy for you on that one. The slope use permit, that seems small. I would, I make the findings for that. And I don't have an issue with the natural state calculation, or the natural state being 48% when 59% is required. 48% is still an awful lot. Don't look at my house, because I don't think we're anywhere near 48%. I mean, I have a flat lot, but I'm thinking about this going, I have a lot of concrete and rock at my house. And then the variance to permit the 1-car garage with no setback, it's now a 3-foot setback? I'm confused,
It's required to have a 3-foot setback.
but it doesn't
The
have a
face of
3
the garage
okay.
will be on the lot, yes.
But it's set back from where the parking pad currently is. So I can make the findings for that. I do think the bump up needs to be figured out. And then it's not on here, but the construction management plan, I think definitely needs to be, what's the word? Very robust. So, those are my thoughts.
Thank you.
Very thorough.
Natasha.
I very much like Commissioner's Hull analysis of the various variances that were requested. So I don't disagree with anything she said. I think there are some additional things that maybe as a commission we can talk about. There were 5 things that have come up for me. I think the biggest issue here is the construction management plan. And I don't really know exactly how we as a commission can make this robust. So I'm kind of looking to staff and to the applicant, because clearly that's the issue that everyone's been talking about. We can't have the neighbors being blocked, especially if there's a medical need opposite. And it is a really narrow street. So, but we do understand that you do need to work. So I don't know what the solution is there, but something clearly needs to come up. So I might lean on the engineer here on our commission to see what you have to say here. I know we need to include the noise limit when we make a motion. I like the idea of black metal. I think that would be great if we can include that or require that. I think that would blend into the background.
Actually called out in the plan.
Right. Okay. Okay. And stone stairs. Okay. We talked about pushing everything back 1 feet. I don't feel that strongly about that. So I'll just defer to what the rest of the commissioners talk about there. Maintenance of the road. When I was out there, I noticed that the front of the road was not too bad. The back of the road, closer to the end, closer to the applicant's property, really was in poor shape. I know you don't want to go close to the redwood. So I wondered if there was some maybe condition or something we can put in where you would repair or repave, whether it's asphalt or concrete, maybe just like the last 20, 30 feet? Okay. So we can confirm that, although I would advise, given the different opinions about who owns the road, whether that's a jointly owned road, whether there's some special, whether there's something, somebody should look at title and to see what the history on that road is, if there is any.
Like I said, we would go to the neighbors and say, do you have it?
Okay. You might just want to look at and just see if there's any prior ownership or what anything's in place. So if we can address the construction management plan, I think I can also make the findings with the same kind of reasoning that Commissioner Hull provided.
All right. Brock.
Well, it is a very narrow lane and it's used by everybody there. So, what you're doing in terms of getting everybody together, if you're going to do something to that lane, now is probably the time, or after you finish your construction. I think what you're proposing can do nothing but make the house better, make it better for the neighbors. So I don't have a problem with it. It's quite a ambitious project for a small house. And I can certainly make the findings.
Yeah, I generally agree with what you guys have said so far. The one thing that I think I would differ with on these 5 variants or requests, the funicular 4-foot setback versus 5-foot setback, I don't really think that I could make the findings for granting a variance for that, because it doesn't seem like it would be a hardship to push it back an extra foot. So if you guys are amenable to that, then I think I would prefer that, or just avoid setting that precedent for the next one that comes in. I guess the main thing here is I agree with Brock, right? The project as proposed seems like it would be a benefit to parking, to the aesthetics out there, but how do we get there without causing too much pain to your neighbors? Because everybody's sharing a 10-foot wide street with pretty limited parking. So that seems like that's the challenge. In terms of like a construction management plan, it seems like parking is probably the biggest thing there. As Jay mentioned, there probably will be times where, a concrete pour, some of that stuff seems like that's sort of unavoidable. On a 10-foot wide road, unless you're pumping it all the way up the street from a drone. But how do you provide parking for workers and contractors who are working there?
We tried to enforce that, and it's like you go to the contractor and say,
Mhm.
goes down to some idiot kid in the truck that just gets lazy, and this is the bane of our existence out there. In terms of any kind of concrete or any kind of heavy, minimum of 72-hour notice to all of the neighbors. And again, I can't emphasize enough how we need to really make the communication robust. That communication management will not work without robust communication, period. And I will acknowledge that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. I think, carpooling or something up there, I guess it's tough as a commission. How do we enforce that? Because we're not.
Can we require the applicant to work with staff? Is there something, or put in where, and you can come up with the requirements, like, or the workers have to park on Madrone, they can't park unless it's these specific conditions like a concrete pour, they would have to park on Madrone. Is there things like that? Is that feasible?
You could put conditions, you know, related to a construction management plan about notice ahead of, you know, closing the roadway for any long work or anything like that. It's, you know, up to you. The hard part is going to be the enforcement on
Right.
our end. So we would need to have the neighbors be contacted.
The neighbors, I'm sure, will pick the phone up
They
and they
can-
now know who you are. They've been told they can call the police. There's all these different things that
Right.
now they will
We
probably
can-
do. They've now met the architect.
We would issue
So-
administrative citations to them and those do add up very quickly. So if they call us and we catch them, we could cite and enforce that way.
I mean,
We
hopefully there's
also
more.
you
Go
could,
ahead.
if you wanted everyone to have another look at the plan, we could wait until the plan is ready to be approved and then send notification out to the neighbors. So they have an opportunity to review the construction management plan and appeal it if they wanted to.
Okay. I
Yeah,
mean,
I think all these projects, they all have a construction management plan. It's just, that's the common thing. That doesn't mean they're gonna obey it all the time. And citations are about as good as it gets. I mean, I've seen it hundreds of times.
I think
And,
it's a difficult lot because it's so narrow.
yeah.
I mean, I'm hoping that now everyone's met each other, they can communicate and you can have, you know, exchange phone numbers or whatever you need to do.
Group chat.
Group chat, group WhatsApp, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I guess construction sequencing could be another concern or another solution, I guess, to that is maybe if you can fit more cars on the existing pad, you could leave that in place and do some other improvements first. I mean, I'm just,
There should be no vehicle. It just really isn't. And so how this is gonna happen is we need to create a flat area, so they'll move equipment up there. They'll demo what's there and start building. And the only time vehicles should be that can feasibly be up there is making deliveries. As they said at 33, up above the yard, they can't just throw their material in the yard. So the real tricky part is making a flat area, a staging area. You're gonna have to be able to get that material off there, so you're gonna have some dump trucks there. But we'll have to be very clear to leave the clearance for 12 and make sure people know when these trucks are there. Normally, they'll make a stack, they'll bring trucks in, they'll remove the material. That's how I've seen that done.
All right, well, finally, I guess I'm the final word of all of us. So I can make the findings. I agree with the 4 foot as opposed to the 5, the set. I don't think I can make the findings to grant that variance largely because of, I don't want to set a precedent for that. And if it's not a hardship, then I think that we should not grant that variance.
For which, the funicular or the garage?
The one with, no, the setback, I have no problem with that. The funicular with a 4 foot setback from the property line where 5 foot is required, I would make it 5 feet. That's what I would do. The rest of it, I can make the findings for. I do emphasize that I think that you should all get together with a construction management plan that you all get signed off on. So that you go to the neighbors and that you get a agreement on a construction management plan. You know, as far as there is no enforcement activity of the planning commission, it would be the city, and if there's administrative citations, that's how it would be, so be it. I would hope police don't get involved, because I personally, as a citizen, would not like the police to get involved in stuff like this. I mean, that's just a waste of police time.
And I'm hoping that after construction, everybody can just go back to being.
Yes,
We don't want to be a problem. Like I
yes,
said, if we could do the Wizard of Oz Dorothy garage and just have it plop down.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. And yeah, I mean, the sighting of the garage, there, you can't push it to the side. You can't push it back without killing that redwood tree in the back there. And you can't push it further up your street. So I think that the sighting is fine. I think that obviously you're going to need to work as well with Ross Valley Sewer District to make sure that that, you know, your lateral is not impacted. Anyway, so that's where I stand. So can I have a motion? Oh,
Wait, I'd like to disagree with the setback on the funicular.
Okay.
And the reason is that that's a really narrow lot. It's an existing house. It's been there for 100 years. It will be more interesting in it and more aesthetically pleasing to have the steps staggered and the funicular, it doesn't make any difference. The foot won't make any difference. What happens is the stairways will get straightened out.
Yeah. So from an aesthetic standpoint, I'm just worried about precedent. That's all. So if you don't think that that's,
I think you've got a really narrow, steep lot that most people are not putting in funiculars.
yeah, okay.
So,
All right. Well, aesthetically, I agree with Brock, so I'll withdraw my comment then. So then I'll withdraw saying I can make the findings for
What
all
about
that's ask.
Mr. Campbell, could you?
You want to do?
Yeah, I mean, I can see that, and I also understand that the funicular, you know, I've seen those, and the tracks are pretty low to the ground, and it's not you know, not something you can see from the next door neighbors, you know, over the fence or anything. So, you know, I guess the reasoning would have to be that it's a really small lot for Larkspur. And so that's, you know, I think I can.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
Want me to try?
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll have our
That's it. I've done
resident
one in 2 years.
resident attorney make the motion.
Yeah, I'm going to make an attempt at this, and do you have any objections if I include about the repairing the road up to about 30 feet? 30 feet?
Well, the width of the lot is 37, no? So
No, like the length. Because the back, if you went down the site, the end, they've agreed to already do some repairs to the road. I was just trying to, yeah, well, they're going to do it, so
Okay,
let's just write it
okay,
in.
fine.
I just was going to put a length in. So we'll make a motion for project number 24024 17 Ridgeway Lane for design review, floor area ratio exception, slope use permit, and the 2 variances to include a construction management plan that would be agreed on by are we going to do this? The neighbors of 12 and 10 Ridgeway. And are we going, okay, and well,
Immediate neighbors.
which is 12 and 14. We're going to include 33 Millard. There one up top. Yeah, okay. Okay. I think we'll leave it to the 3 neighbors that have come here tonight. Okay. Right. And then can you help me with the noise limits? To comply with the noise limits with Larkspur Municipal Code section 9.54. Yeah. Okay. And the applicant also agrees to repair the road, the back portion of the road, say 25 feet from the end of Ridgeway. Do we want a second?
Yeah, I'll second. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Can you say?
I'll second.
Yeah, you can't second.
I can't second.
Commissioner Wagstaff,
yes.
Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Swisher,
Yes.
Commissioner Chalmers.
Yes.
And Commissioner Hull.
Yes.
The motion carries unanimously, and there is a 10-day appeal period. And someone could appeal by filing an appeal and the appeal fee with the city clerk.
Thanks for all coming out. All right. Next on the agenda, let me get my agenda out here.
Yeah, discussion on the Larkspur regulation.
Yes, let's now I'd like to open up for a discussion regarding Larkspur floor area ratio regulation and floor area exceptions.
Can I ask a question? If this runs for it to be a long meeting, which of these can,
Any
Okay,
of
my
these
agenda,
you could
which-
continue.
but no, is there one that we can continue? Is there
All
one
of
you really
them
want to
I
get
can-
done tonight?
I think they're all fine. I mean,
Okay,
They're-
so we'll just,
they're all- we can come back with any of them.
yes, maybe we approve the minutes first. Can we
Yeah,
get all the minutes?
That would actually be great.
Yeah, should we just go, let's approve the minutes?
The minutes, yeah. Yeah, let's approve the minutes.
I didn't attend the November one. Can we separate that one out?
Yeah, and I didn't,
No.
I was gonna abstain.
All right, each one individually.
We do.
There's like several. Yeah,
All right, so let's go back and approve the minutes. So let's go back to November 12th. October 22nd. I'm looking at them first. October 8th. Okay, here we go. October 8th is the first, Nope.
Yeah, there's some that you still don't have. Sorry. You just didn't get.
oh, you
them.
don't have those?
And they're just not, you don't have them.
okay.
Yeah, so why don't you go with pick up the ones that you have in front of you? so
I
you
have
know which ones.
October. I don't see an August 20th, do you? No. No, I have, the first one I have is October 8th. So anybody have any matters on the agenda of October 8th that you would like to discuss? Alright, seeing none.
I move to approve the minutes of October 8th, 2024.
I'll second it.
All right, can we just do an acclamation vote or do we have to do a roll call vote on that?
Let me do a roll call since we have some people abstaining. Commissioner Wagstaff,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell.
Yes.
Commissioner Swisher.
Yes,
Commissioner Chalmers
she was absent.
I'll abstain.
and Commissioner Hull.
All right, the next one is October 22nd, 2024. Anybody have any comments on the minutes for that meeting? Seeing none, go ahead.
Is 64 Francis, are they happy with the draft?
This includes some of their edits.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
And it's like, I read it, it seemed fine to me. I didn't have any issues. They just seemed to want to have more details.
Yeah, I
and
thought
stuff
they're,
in there.
whatever they had requested
Was fine.
was accurate.
I would move to approve the October 22nd minutes.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Commissioner Wagstaff,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Swisher,
Yes.
Commissioner Chalmers, and
Yes,
Commissioner Hull.
Yes.
Carries 5-0.
Next, I have the November 12th, 2024 minutes. Commissioner Campbell was absent at that meeting. Anybody have any comments on this set of minutes?
No, this one I had additional information as well, I think, from 64 Francis.
Yep.
And then we also have. Yeah.
Okay,
You can still vote even though you were absent.
Oh, you
You're
can't?
You're just approving someone else's, that minutes were taken of the meeting. You don't have
Okay.
to.
all right, fine.
But if you're recused, you can recuse from the vote.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then otherwise we'll never have enough people to vote on.
I
Okay.
move
Can-
to approve
wait,
November
so-
12th minutes? Or did you already approve?
No, but I can abstain, right?
Yeah, you could have,
yeah, you can.
yeah,
'Cause
I
there's
mean, I
four,
guess
yeah.
we
We have
have
enough.
enough
As long as we have
votes.
a
Yeah.
quorum.
But isn't Hull recused from that one?
No, not November 12th.
Oh, okay. Maybe I just misnoted it.
But you can still read the minutes, right?
Yeah, go ahead. So she can make a motion.
Yeah, I don't know why I would be.
All right.
abstaining from that one.
I have a motion to approve the minutes of November 12th.
I'll move to approve the minutes of November 12th.
I'll second.
Commissioner Wagstaff,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell,
Abstained.
Commissioner Swisher,
Yes,
Commissioner Chalmers,
Yes.
Commissioner Hull.
Yes.
all right. And the next set of minutes are January 14th, 2025. Oh, boy, I was absent and present at the same time. Look at that. I was like a Schrodinger's commissioner. And if we vote on it, we don't know whether it's yes or no until we decide.
If that's not in the February,
the radioactive box.
if that's not in the February 11th minutes,
Yeah.
I'm gonna vote no.
I move to approve the January 14th minute.
Except with the striking out of my name as being present.
And the,
Oh, wait, did we?
with the addition that we were given tonight at the meeting
All right,
for the changes. I guess.
yes. All right, can I have a motion for that, please?
I'll second.
Second? All right, vote.
Commissioner Wagstaff,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Swisher,
Yes.
Commissioner Chalmers.
Yes.
Commissioner Hall.
Yes.
All right, I believe
Did I vote?
now we have the February 4th minutes. Wait, nope, that's it. That's it. We're good. Yeah, sorry. Okay, next item on the agenda. So the question is do we want to push anything to a future meeting or do we want to discuss?
Well, I was just asking whether there was something here that had to be done or whether what could wait in case we run out of time. I don't know how long, because we've got like 4 more things on the agenda. I have no idea how long.
I think floor area ratio seems like an important one, but
Yeah.
one that will take
That's gonna be
longer.
a long one.
I know.
I'm not sure if there's like some, direction we could give you, like, oh, we want to see a comparison of other cities or something like that. That
We
would
have
be,
that.
we have that, right? But,
Yeah. It's
but you know what I mean? Like something that we don't discuss it for 2 hours. We can just give you direction, give
Yeah.
direction to staff on what we want to see.
Yeah, I'd be more interested in.
But
It
seems like
is
allow
something
other stuff
that's gonna
is-
take a while, I think.
Yeah,
and
maybe we need.
I think it's really important. We
It
talked,
needs to be its own meeting.
I've been here long enough that we've gone through this before. I think a lot of this is from previous attempts. One question I would like to ask though, having gone through it, does any other city have slope requirements for FAR? Because I couldn't find any.
I didn't see any.
Yeah, I did not see any when I was looking through it. I will just note that, yeah, the big compilation of all the requirements, that's at least a couple years out of date at this point. So there's a chance something's been added, but
Hmm.
I'm not that
Yeah.
aware.
Well, my understanding,
Even Sausalito and places like which have a lot of steep hills.
I know places I've worked in all had requirements that were based on slope, I think.
They did.
Yeah,
Okay.
you
didn't
don't
see
think
it.
so? I mean,
No.
like San Anselmo, I feel like there was always different requirements for slope.
Not,
There's tables that say where you, how,
It's
like
not in the
the
report.
floor area would go down as the slope increased in the size.
I didn't see it in any of them.
That sounds pretty important that we may
We'll
need to,
get- we'll get more
we
information.
need to clarify that.
Yeah.
why don't we do that? So let's, maybe we can choose to have this discussion at a meeting when we don't have
A
You know,
long
but,
complicated.
a long, complicated agenda item. So
I thought that one would be fast.
We did.
I did too.
I-
I thought that would be really-
You know what, I think, and it's in, yeah, well,
So let's do that.
We do need a time, I think, time on people talking. A
we
little-
do 3 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, that was.
The reason I
Uh,
didn't
yeah,
enforce it
agreed.
tonight is because we have 2 people here. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
But
you
I
know.
mean, he was rattling on about
So was she.
forever about how life was hard on the.
Yeah, but
Yeah. you know what,
yeah.
maybe we could get a timer and so that we could just so that
You do
people-
have one right there.
Yeah, but people could see, like,
Oh, well, it does. It has a red,
countdown timer.
it has a red.
I know it has a red light, but I'd like to maybe.
I mean, in situations, what I would recommend in situations like this, when there's only 2 speakers, rather than saying you've only got 3 minutes, you could give them like 6 minutes each.
Mhm.
And that way they have time to say what they want to say, but they're not going on for too long. You
Yeah.
could just have like a
Right.
slightly longer time,
Yep, yep.
and then they know they have to wrap up.
Yeah, wrap up. yeah.
Do we have a sign that says focus?
But yeah.
Yeah, he
um,
didn't seem to want.
Just back to the FAR, one thing I just wanted to point out when we're all considering this for whichever meeting we talk about is I did not appreciate that the reason they were put in place in the first place is because of the fires.
Mhm.
And I think that made me stop for a minute and be like, actually, they were there for a good reason.
What do you mean,
um,
because of the fires.
Because of well, not fires, like mudslides. Sorry, not mudslides,
Because
mudslides.
yeah,
and big-
mudslides
So
back- yeah,
the-
the 80s were
Which
bad.
can still happen. And construction obviously is better today, I assume, but it just made me hesitate that
Yeah,
we're
and
not
I
gonna
think-
just come in and just get rid of everything so
I think the
quickly.
bottom line is that horse out of the barn and down the road. In other words, I've looked at this more than a few times.
Mhm.
and Would changing it, we've made decisions for a lot of people based on our slope ordinances. And it does give you an ability to reward projects that are nice
Mhm.
and turn down ones that are not so nice. So anyway, just
Yeah.
thought.
Right, by keeping it in
But,
place,
but,
right?
but Brock, as an architect, it seemed to me that the reason for a lot of these slope ordinances was because of older construction techniques.
That's, yeah, drill piers, heel
Yeah.
piers, pin piles, all that stuff.
Mhm.
It's a
Nowadays,
lame question too, right?
you know,
Mhm.
people can build on hillsides.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but I mean, when, like I said, when we did our house, we have like ridiculous number. You guys can look at our plans sometime. You want to see something that just freak you out. How many like 60-foot piers that I have for my addition.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Wow.
It's like I have the most expensive foundation in Larkspur, I think. All right, so let's put this off to a future meeting to be determined when we have time. Because I think it does warrant more discussion than we are going to do it. Almost not.
this is a lot of info that Kristen put together, is it not? Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, I think,
Said it was from
I
Friday.
think, I mean, I'm for tabling it. I think what I would like is if we didn't have to grant so many FAR exceptions, right? If we just could pick a limit and stick to it, because
Mhm.
right now it's 800 square feet, which is just like totally below what's
Mhm.
ever going to be built on a
Mhm.
lot in Larkspur. And so
Mhm.
it'd be nice if we didn't have to, if we could enforce a limit, right?
Can staff make a recommendation if we were going to change it?
Could return at the next meeting with some thoughts, I
Mm.
guess.
I mean, I guess that's, it is trying to understand what the problem is that you're trying to fix. So is it that you want to set, and then that is most I've heard about, you want to set a limit, you want to set a more reasonable limit so that you can enforce the hillside slope regulations?
I think what Liam, I don't want to speak for you, but I think what you're saying is that we're going to be getting so many of these FIR, you know, not, it's not variances, but
Explore exception, right?
for
Exception.
exceptions that we don't, it's just, it becomes kind of ridiculous after a
seems like
point,
every-
because every time we grant an
Yeah.
FAR. So probably what we want is some guidance as what, maybe we just need less of a reduction for every degree of
Mhm.
slope.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, maybe
Well,
that,
and we'll take a look at all the ones that have been granted. Maybe that
Yeah.
gives you some clue as to what you want to approve.
And the
Right.
other is flat lots size. So you have the same thing if you have a 5,000 square foot lot, if you have a 30,000 square foot lot. And it's really difficult when you have a smaller lot to get a reasonable house on.
Yeah.
Even with 0.4.
Well, that's 64 Francis, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So, right, so let's just kind of gather our thoughts on this, and maybe I'll think more about what we want to accomplish, and then let's table that to a meeting to be determined in the future. All right.
And
Next,
also just keep, I guess the floor area doesn't have to be, but every single one of them still, they'll still be before you for design review and a slope use permit anyway. So
Mhm.
you're just looking at the design.
Yeah. Okay. Next item on the agenda is
Outdoor seating.
outdoor seating. Oh, that's a nice topic.
I'm
Let's
gonna put
quickly.
my laptop out because I got given multiple copies of floor area ratio, but not the others.
Oh,
Oh, here, I've got this one.
Oh,
So.
you were too? You didn't get the others? Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so what, can
I might share.
there's a staff report.
Plus the one I had when I never.
I have a
Yeah.
staff report on outdoor seating?
Sure, have me share my screen here.
Can I-
Yes, you can share
or I
mine.
can pull.
Okay, so for a bit of background, there are several businesses throughout Larkspur that have installed existing or exterior improvements or temporary accessory structures on private property, usually to contain some outdoor seating area for a dining establishment. So the municipal code requires planning commission design review approval of any addition to or exterior alteration of existing businesses and professional offices, commercial or industrial buildings and associated structures. But however, a different section exempts conforming accessory structures under 400 square feet from design review. However, historically, this has only been applied to residential properties, not commercial properties. So some of the issues surrounding commercial accessory structures, they have the potential to require additional entitlements, including use permits for outdoor seating, because the code only allows certain zoning districts to get up to 10 outdoor seating spaces as a by right use. Anything above that requires a conditional use permit. On top of that, they might need additional parking requirements. So some uses are parked on a seat by seat basis or a total square footage basis. And then specific to the downtown, there's also another layer of historic review that can and will be required if there's any building that's proposing an exterior structure. So I guess what we're looking for is direction from the planning commission on how it wants to address accessory structures and enclosures, specifically those that it's unlikely to approve. I think we're looking for some guidance so that we
Hey,
can.
Alex, we're just going to interrupt you
I-
for 1 minute. We're going to change the
I-
chair to vice chair right now.
I have to go. I have to make 2 patient calls. I'll be back in a second.
Okay. Chair Campbell.
So some of the things I think we were hoping to gain from this discussion is an understanding of how the planning commission feels on, should design review be required for covering and enclosing outdoor seating areas? Should design review be required for accessory structures in commercial areas? What standards should apply to enclosed and covered commercials, outdoor seating areas? And if covered or enclosed, enclosing of outdoor seating areas is supported, should any incentives be provided, like a reduction in the parking requirement or a staff level review as opposed to the planning commission when that area is not conditioned space? Well, and then let me just really quickly, we do have a couple examples of the structures that we are talking about here.
So we took just made a slide for each of the ones that we have, so you could get some examples, because one concern is that we have to treat everyone fairly. So if someone's coming in for something, just imagine that it's going to be at all the other locations as well, in case they come in. And the first, just starting at the end of Magnolia, we have Perry's, and they don't actually have any covering over their outdoor seating, although they might on their back patio. They have approval to have seating on their back patio. And then they have approval to have, I think 25 seats in the Redwood Grove area. They've gone beyond that and have seating in other areas of their site. But they don't have any coverings right now that are in violation. And they actually were precluded from having those heaters, but they have the heaters.
So can we maybe go with each one? So the issue with this one is that they've got more seating than they have
They have
approval for.
more seating than allowed. which
And
is
I know
something-
I've sat on the sidewalk, so.
I have too.
It's like, okay.
Yeah, so in order to, like, if the planning commission was in favor of legalizing some of these things, they could, for example, come back and get amendment to their prior approvals to allow more seating at their property.
So what would you guys allow, seeing how they've got it out there? I mean, I'm not a planner, but in my head, I was shocked that I was put on the sidewalk the first time. And, and I hadn't noticed that it was there before. To me, that seems like that should not be allowed. That's, I'm assuming that's not private property.
No, I think it's, well, we'd have to look at a survey, but I think that area is, the area where they have those seating, I believe, is private property.
okay.
But I'd have to check with Public Works. I'm not aware that they've received any sort of sidewalk permit, but they could get one from, if it was public, they could get one from Public Works to have sidewalk seating.
And then I
But I
noticed.
think that area is actually their private.
Is it more helpful for us to go through each property one by one, or to let you finish your staff report
Bunch
and
of them,
then
we could always
go,
Come back.
or to go through the whole staff report and then come back, which is more
Yeah,
helpful?
I mean, the only thing we have left is to go through images, so we
Okay.
can go through them all just to explain what's wrong or okay about them, and then let
And then-
you make
well,
comments.
Yeah,
As-
that's good.
As
Okay.
chair, I think we should do that.
Okay.
Oh, you wanted to say that.
There you go.
Liam.
All right.
Acting chair.
And so this is the coffee shop, the Equator, they're in compliance. There's, I guess actually, they're probably not in compliance either because they have more than 8 seats, but
And
they don't have any coverings that are in violation of anything. They just have umbrellas.
so this whole topic relates to non-compliance within private property. You're not
Correct.
concerned about when,
Parklets or public
like during COVID,
streets.
when people came and they
Right.
asked to go into the street. That has separately
That
regulated
now has a policy and
Yeah.
a program.
that governs that. So
Yeah.
we're talking about people who put, and then prior to the concerns that are now raised, if Equator or Perry's or any of these other restaurants wanted to put outdoor seating, what is the existing procedure that they have to go through to get outdoor seating?
Generally, it's for more than 8 or 10, 8 or 10, 10, they have to get a conditional use permit.
So they come in and get a conditional use permit, and then in that conditional use permit, you
Sometimes
say,
additional conditions, like the one on Perry's, so they can't have any outdoor heaters in the Redwood area and no loud music, and they can't be open past 7 o'clock.
so you just put in conditions, and then do you have a number? That's kind of funny. Do you have a number of seats?
Yes, for
in
like,
each,
well,
for all of
for-
these
not for all
conditional?
of them. So Perry's had a limit of 25 in that Redwood Grove area, 66 in their back deck. And then there's some of them have limits, some of them don't have limits.
Right. But then Perry's did come back and get approval for the outdoor heating.
For outdoor heating later? You said outdoor heating?
Remember? We
Oh, they might have.
approved? Yeah, Brock and I were on the
I didn't
commission.
see any, but
The outdoor heaters that
Okay.
are they're not freestanding, they're permanent.
oh, well, there was an approval for that for the back deck.
Yes.
Yeah, they got approval for that.
Yeah, they have freestanding ones that are movable.
Oh, you're talking about the
Right.
ones, you're talking about the front
So the
end?
ones in the Redwood Grove, they were precluded for putting any freestanding
Okay.
heaters.
So now what we're actually looking at are then the,
There was like, we weren't even that worried about these situations, even though they're all in violation. We were more concerned about the structures that are appearing and the
okay,
enclosures.
so
that are
now they're
appearing.
going beyond.
If we
the-
keep going, or if
Mm.
we wanted, if you're pleased with how some of these are, we could change the regulations or bring in use permits or like encourage them to legalize and.
Let's go through some of the more pictures, because I feel like they
sounds like
kind of
this
get,
is
These
they-
are the good ones.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yes.
Keep going to the really bad
Yeah.
ones until you get to Pico.
The
Okay.
goal here is to find a revision to the ordinance.
Well,
Is
not
that-
necessarily.
Or
we
just to
wanna
go
hear
through
what you
each.
think. Are
Give
you,
them
do you have
more
concerns? Do you not? If we started enforcing our rules, would you think that you'd want to change them?
Oh, got it.
I think this is a global look at
Mhm,
this as
mhm.
opposed to just each individual, like this one's, okay.
Right.
I just wanted to understand, because these first couple ones didn't have any notes on what was the issue or why they, I was like, okay.
Right. Well, I
are
thought they were
good?
in
Are not
compliance.
good?
And then when I was doing more research, I found out they weren't. I was just looking for coverings at first and these don't have any coverings. So this is just another one that just has outdoor seating, no covering. And then this is part of the same lot at 286 Magnolia. And this one is required to only have the covering 6 months per year, which I believe might have been complied with in the past based on the street view photos. But I'm not sure that the current business is aware that they have to remove the covers 6 months out of the year.
The covers, sorry, say that again. I was catching
So
up.
they,
So
there's currently
268
San
Magnolia.
Francisco Rustic, they have cover over their former wisteria vine, and then they have like roll down
6 months.
enclosure, plastic enclosure along their walls.
Yeah.
And they're required to remove it 6 months of the year, but any 6 months that they want.
But they do that, right? Or they don't
I
do
don't know that they have for many years, but
Oh, I see.
I think they have,
Okay.
they did in the past. There's been several owners, so the ones that originally got this approval, maybe they were doing it, and then maybe it wasn't passed along to the others. And then 295 Magnolia is the wine bar. They took down their tent, but they had a tent installed in the front. And this is one of the ones that was just more obvious as a violation. So I don't know, we don't know if it would fall under that 400 square foot accessory structure exemption, if you wanted to apply that exemption differently. and exempt structures like this, but that's
Yeah, because
what
that's
comes up with
ugly.
this one.
It is ugly, but this is a summertime thing, right? For the sun, or
I
what
think
was
this
it there
a
for?
wintertime thing for the winter.
It was a
to
wintertime
Keep them
thing.
open all year long, right?
Got it. Oh, for the rain. Okay.
And then Pico, they've also
Oh, yeah. I see
like
that.
somewhat enclosed their space without approval using the plastic roll down coverings and then also filling in their railing with material. So it essentially gets enclosed again
Mhm.
during inclement weather. And then the restaurant that's vacant right now, they had also modified the side of their open patio with some enclosures that weren't approved.
We actually had planning commission get-togethers in that
Oh,
space
yeah.
back in the day.
Yeah, we had.
And then Left Bank doesn't have any, but this is again, just I wanted to put this in there because if they wanted to put them in, would you be okay with that?
Oh,
Oh.
like if they put in.
Like if they decided to do what Pico's done and enclose their patio for the winter, is that something that you'd be in favor of?
Mhm.
But right now, the enclosures are strictly not permitted.
They just need, they need approval. They need
They need to
design
come in. for
review, unless you're gonna want the rules changed to not.
Are you
require
suggesting then
review.
that this,
And
they,
then they might need additional parking if we consider it enclosed, but it's sort of, is it enclosed when it's not, a wall? Our enclosure definition. I
so
think
can
could
we,
be
for
read to-
example, make this a zoning administrator requirement approval?
Well, it has been in the past, but that's where I think your direction would come in because the zoning administrator approved the one at the Italian restaurant and has approved these other ones. So
Mhm.
if you're fine with that, we could just continue to do that. I think it's
Wait,
doing
which,
temporarily, it's an enforcement problem. Maybe.
So the ZA has approved them as temporary structures.
The ones that are approved, which is the one at, go back. This one at the restaurant, San Francisco Rustic now, it used to be, we used to call it Sandbox Restaurant. And remember the Sandbox, probably don't, your kids are too young. That one was approved by the zoning administrator as a temporary enclosure. Actually, the planning commission approved it initially, sorry.
you mean the
So in
tent portion of
2016,
it?
the planning commission approved it. The zoning administrator made the time more flexible because the planning commission actually approved it with a specific time limit, so it had to be removed by April 14th.
But what did they approve? The extension onto the sidewalk or just the
No, the
tenting?
canvas and the side panels, so the same.
So they're allowed to have seasonal canvas roof and side panels from October 14th to April 14th.
And then, so the
But not
picture is
on
just what it
tests.
looks like
Seasonal.
when it doesn't have the material on
So,
it.
so it seems like that sort of what we're getting at here is there's like a sort of a creep of, oh, you can have something, you can add some outdoor seating and then, oh, we want to cover it. Okay, covering is fine. Oh, we want to add walls. Okay, canvas walls. Okay, that's fine 6 months out of the year. And then it sort of just becomes like a permanent,
Yeah.
mostly permanent
Right.
structure, right?
Which,
Is
If it doesn't bother anyone, we could bring it to you for approval.
And are people thinking, because I know this happens in the city, that if they just put plastic, that's not treated as a permanent enclosure and therefore they're not breaking any rules? Is that the perception?
Well, I think they may not be aware there was a limit, the new owners,
Mhm.
and I think we could read it both ways. So if you wanted to say, when you do this, it's enclosed, now you need more parking, or is it not enclosed because they're not permanent?
Well, I mean, personally, I think that I like the outdoor seating. I mean, I especially like it at like Equator, at Perry's, at Left Bank. And I think the common theme of those is that it's not enclosed. I mean, that's my take.
Yeah, and
It allows you to go in winter, right?
I think it contributes to a certain vitality of the downtown.
Mhm.
There's activity going on. And I think we need to be careful, that we don't drive them away. Because it's a pretty wild business.
But the enclosures allow the the outdoor restaurants to continue operating outside during the winter. That's really, I think, what's happening.
Yeah.
That's your alarm. Can I just, one that's not on the list is the one at Larkspur Landing Farm Shop.
Oh,
Because they came in and remember
Farm
they-
Shop.
they
I don't know
had
if
the
they ended up in
expansion.
that back. I
And
have a
I've-
picture of it somewhere.
Now they also have
Oh,
the
here's,
plastic.
right, here's a half of it. So there are additional ones in Marin Country Mart that I didn't address because a lot of those ones have outdoor seating and umbrellas. And then Suvla has a trellis, but it's not covered. It's just a open trellis where Marin Brewing Company used to be. And that, so there is one, the other one, the farm shop over
Farm shop.
there. Right. They did, I believe, get
Well, that's what I'm
Look at that
wondering.
one. I have to look, but I think
I-
they did get approval for that.
Yes, so that's where
Yeah.
I was going to go with this. And Brock, you help me. They came in because they built it and it was a formal approval for the roof. And I thought they had blinds. I can't remember
Right,
exactly, something
yeah.
that was, and it was all part of the approval.
Right.
So, yeah,
They
and
do-
it's
I
like,
think they do have some sort of approval for that one.
and it's actually beautiful and it's a block for the sun, I think, in the
No,
summer and
it's
it's
nice.
rain. Yeah.
And there's just a certain vitality that you get.
And we have
Um,
such beautiful weather here. It's, it's
Yeah.
nice to be able to, well, maybe not this week.
Well, it's winter, but the question then is, do we force all the restaurants to go down this formal process, or do some restaurants say we just can't afford that and the plastic is all that we can do, and we just let them do that? Is that
Right.
kind of what you're asking us,
Right.
right? Is how do we look at this? Do we say each one can be slightly different? Because I remember Farm Shop came in and did it like very formally and
So right now, they come to staff or do they just do it?
They would need to apply for design review right now to do it,
Okay.
but they are just doing.
And that's expensive, right? To apply for design
It
review?
is.
So we could put something in place where maybe they have to put something in nicer, but they wouldn't necessarily have to pay high fees.
Right. You could have guidelines on what could be installed that we could just approve at a staff level if it met them.
And that seems like that would work most of the time. And if staff feels that it's really kind of pushing the edges, then maybe it goes before design review.
Right, like the fence height
Yeah.
exception, yeah.
Is that gonna, I'm just thinking out loud here, if design review requires plans and an architect involvement. I get the feeling that some of these are just sort of, constructed by a handyman or a contractor, not like there's probably not architectural and structural plans that are developed and presented to, a contractor type of thing.
It's
So
an easy
it-
up tent and, there's.
Right, is
it
it,
needed?
Cords.
is that an extra, I don't know how much an architect costs, few $1,000s that.
Not much.
That we're, I'm just thinking that's another barrier.
Then a lawyer that you have to hire afterwards if it goes wrong.
So,
And we don't want to make a business go through the expense of hiring an architect to design something that we're not going to approve. So if they hire the architect and they come in with plastic sheeting, that seems like we've just put them through a loop when they're going to do something that we're not going to approve. If we have some sort of aesthetic requirement, if it's like professionally done plastic sheeting, there's a difference between.
I think the
What's
plastic
roughed out.
sheeting should have to be able to be like rolled up or removed, right? If it's outdoor seating,
Like the
that
ones that
seems like the
at
bare minimum.
Pico's are really kind of ugly when they're down.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
But the weather's usually ugly at the same time.
Yeah.
So you're probably not as concerned with what it looks like. But if those are up, when it's not
Like,
raining.
I don't know that the ones at Pico or some of the other the examples that are enclosed in here, they seem like they're not like enhancing the vitality and promoting sort of I don't know what the words are for it, indoor, outdoor,
Sure.
It's a
The
European
enjoyment of the
flavor.
downtown, so.
yeah, they don't, it seems like they're not achieving that goal, right?
These are all outdoor seating areas in private areas that now they got conditional permits and now they're going beyond the scope of their conditional permit and putting in additional seating,
Mhm.
plastic covering.
Sure, yeah, they don't like
Um,
the gentleman that we approved up in, North Magnolia.
Yeah, so the
Mhm.
question is, how do we need some kind of global response to this where we can just say like, zoning administrator can approve it if it's this, if it's like certain requirements or, but we gotta bear in mind like this, right now they have. Right now, can you just remind us, you said they have to get design review and
They
they,
need designer review, they
fees
might need
involved.
heritage review.
And they
They
can't
need-
block the
They
public.
might need a
right away.
parking variance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all in private.
Yeah.
so
They
one.
might need a
thought was-
floor exception.
Maybe we
No,
keep it at the start
no,
level. If we
no
can,
bars.
if we can give them enough guidance, maybe we can keep it at the staff level and staff brings it to us.
Yeah.
Or whether we do something a little bit different, maybe plastic is fine and we say as globally that's fine or.
Well, I don't-
Right, am
I
I
think-
describing, I'm
Yeah,
kind
no, I
of doing
get
a
it.
real
I mean,
quick
my
summary.
feeling About this is that it does increase and enhance the livability of a neighborhood.
Right, we just
to do that.
all said that.
And I think that's
yeah.
great. I think the issue is that if people complain or if there's some issues, they could bring it to the planning, to the city. And then if there's any question about it, you bring it up to the planning commission for a decision regarding whether it complies with standards or, et cetera. But I would caution against getting too granular on on the requirements.
Right, but we're trying to avoid them having to come back to us. But what's the point of putting in permits if they're not going to comply with them? So we got to figure out something that.
It's
that
like
works.
546A, I think is a good example of something that.
Like farm shop. Remember we approved farm shop?
Yeah,
They did a
farm shop.
beautiful.
Like they
and
got
actually
some
came in
permits
asked
and then they added the
for- and then
plastic and
provided
like
plans and they got
Pico's
the house.
plastic is ugly, but it seems more temporary. And what I've been seeing at the Akaibo place
It's
doesn't
outdoors,
seem
so
like
that's
it's
outdoors.
that temporary. It seems like it's
do we
all
want-
enclosed plastic and, with lights
That's
and all
true.
this kind of stuff all the
That's
time.
true.
Like it was like that all summer. So if that's not been approved, then I would think that they need to get approval to do
Do
something
you,
like
do
that.
you know the history of what happened at Bungalow 44 in Mill Valley? Because they had that really nice outdoor space.
Oh,
and
yeah,
if you went there, go there recently, it's all gone.
Well,
Didn't they build a new space on their roof?
I don't know,
I
did
think
they?
they have expanded up on their rooftop.
Bungalow 44?
Yeah, I think so.
Really? We'll have to go check that out.
Like the sushi one is like,
But some people had COVID. I mean, a lot of this came out of COVID.
yeah.
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, I
All
think
the-
it's
all
a
the
bit-
parklets.
Honestly, we have a dog and as somebody with a dog,
Huh.
and it's like, we sit outside all the time. We sit outside even when we don't have the dog now.
Yeah.
Like, it's nice to be outside,
It really
Something's
is.
missing. What was the issue with, I just lost it. Oh, 250 Magnolia.
250?
Oh,
And
that's,
whose does that serve?
250
Keiko
Magnolia
Fish?
is it.
Oh, that one, so
That's not Keiko's,
it's
that's
more
the
like,
Italian
it's
place.
more, like
more
furniture for
communal.
the whole complex, I
Yeah.
think, than for the sushi place.
So why is that on the list?
Oh, it just as another
nice
example
one.
of where people have outdoor seating.
Oh, I see. I thought that was an issue. Okay.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
there's
it's
no issues there, other than if it's viewed for Keiko Fish, it's got too many seats. Because they're only allowed 10 without a permit. But I guess you could arguably say that's only 10.
Yeah, the cake with it was good.
That's about 10.
I don't know how much I mean, do we have these two sheets? Encourage umbrellas, planter boxes, landscape barriers and low barriers, and discourage full enclosure, temporary structures, plastic sheeting and tall barriers. Like, that seems like it pretty much sums up my opinions on it, but
Yeah. Same.
I'm not sure, unless we want to start making rules up here.
I think it'd be helpful to keep it as much as we can at staff
Yeah,
level.
I agree.
Um,
But
What
then
we
how
could
much of
do
this
maybe
encourage and discourage?
is prepare some sort of design guidelines that you could adopt and then we could just implement them.
yeah,
Yeah.
like there would be more
Yeah, yeah.
guidelines as
Yeah,
opposed to,
guidelines. Yeah,
Just
yeah.
print
So
this
that they're
page
not
out.
all the same because some of them are
Yeah.
really unique and really nice.
Yeah.
Well, you've seen them all over the place now. They're-
so if
some are
they can
attractive.
comply with the guidelines, it's an easy stamp of approval from you.
We might have to change some rules to do that,
Right.
but
Uh,
I
but-
think that would be nice
yeah.
to be able to do that.
And if it's something that doesn't quite meet with the guidelines, then they would have to take it an extra, an extra step maybe.
Yeah.
Possibly.
I mean, I think they've done a great job, honestly. There's very few that I don't like. I mean.
What was the issue with Perry's again? It's just they've expanded the seating beyond
one's
what
that?
they were, Perry's, they expanded seating
Oh,
beyond
yeah,
the
there's
number
no-
of,
There's no issue with Perry's
Oh.
other than too many seats
too many seats. Okay.
And outdoor heaters in the redwoods.
and outdoor heaters
And you know, they've got like TVs in the
and,
redwoods too.
and being open past 7 o'clock.
What's wrong with that?
It violates their approval.
Uh,
But
Who said that?
no one's complaining about it, but
You
we
know, it's
could-
like.
we could encourage them to apply to amend their
You've been to
approval.
Europe, right? Like no sane person would go eating
Before 8
Before-
or 9.
9.
before 9 or 10,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
I mean,
it's not
friends of mine
South
from Europe come
America.
Here and go, when are we going out? I'm like, nothing's open. They're like, you're kidding.
Yeah.
It's like, you're kidding, right?
But it's California. You got to get up at 6 a.m. for your triathlon, right?
Okay.
So do we need to make a motion or?
If
or
you're all.
just-
We're just giving you feedback, right?
That's
We'll
just
return.
direction? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
Great.
Okay, very good.
Sidewalk.
All right, the next one's
Yeah.
a sidewalk on
Oh, wait, that's
on
not.
Diane Lane.
Oh, and I just included it because they'd written a comment and this is an opportunity for you to talk about it. If you want
Also,
to.
Can you clarify for me, so Heather Gardens is not gonna have a sidewalk, or I thought
Oh,
they,
that
at
one.
some point, were gonna have a sidewalk requirement that sidewalks were built on the
I
side
think
of.
your
of
historian is at the end of the.
William Avenue.
Don't keep talking down that way.
Yeah. So wasn't it that they were gonna require William Avenue, et cetera, to have sidewalks at some point?
That's how it started a long time ago. Every time there was a remodel, because I did a number of them and put sidewalks in front, you had to put a 3-foot sidewalk in. The problem is it was on a piecemeal basis.
Sidewalk.
So sometimes you'd have 8 houses and one 50-foot long sidewalk that's 3 feet wide that nobody walks on.
Yeah.
And I think they just basically stopped doing it.
Yeah. So the people at 46, is it 46, Diane? They had to put it in and now they're angry about it, so.
There it is. You're right.
So-
I can see it on Google Maps.
I don't think she wasn't angry,
No.
but she brought it up when she was here.
I was
for-
wondering why 56 Dan wasn't being required to do the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
thing with their new house.
And I
So
think we
there's-
encouraged her to question it.
And there's
Yeah,
no
we did.
requirement for them to do that.
It's just up to
There
the
it is.
discretion of the public works director. The city doesn't have any policy.
It's actually a nice
And the
sidewalk.
current
And I
public
was
works
trying to
director,
remember who was the public works director at that time.
Shamsapur,
It might have been, yeah.
is what I understand.
And he was requiring it. And
But why is there an intention to pick that back up again?
How would you-
There's,
how would
like
you-
I
Well,
said,
they-
it's, right now it's up to the discretion of the
Right.
public works director. The
Look at
city
it.
doesn't have. a
No, I know
policy.
it's lovely. I saw it, but you know, it's like, I also noticed, because I noticed it when I went to look at 56 Diane. I was like, oh, I wonder why they put a sidewalk in front of their house. And I didn't realize it was required until and I was like, oh, okay, now I understand. And it looks odd,
Yeah.
you know,
it's just, at this point, it's not gonna happen.
it's not gonna happen. And
So-
it's an odd thing to do because like you said, it's piecemeal. This
It's also
development's been here
unnecessary
for
William
80
Avenue,
years.
because, let's say for William, et cetera, you've got the entire other side of the street where there's
Mhm.
no.
Yeah.
It doesn't, you know.
But
there's
this
no
is
house.
Diane. This is
Yeah, that's
Diane there.
Diane.
Yeah, look, there it is right there.
And now there's
Well, they have
bike
the
lane
15-foot
on
setback,
William
and then you're gonna
too.
make 3 feet
there
of a
is?
sidewalk?
Bike
Oh,
lane,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they were
Anyway,
gonna
there's
make-
you don't need to, or there's no recommendation you need to make. That was just because you had received the email, so.
Would we, if somebody came to you and said, I want to take my sidewalk out, what would be the process for that?
We would direct them to Public Works.
Okay.
How long ago was Hamid the director of public works?
Hamid was
Like
How
10
long
years.
is
When was he? I think?
probably 10
He
years.
worked on the
More
bridge.
than
I was
that.
thinking 10 years.
Grace,
Yeah.
Grace, I moved here in 2012 and Grace was Public Works then.
I got into it with Hamid, man.
He was,
So is she asking for some kind of response here, or she just wants a clarification on what the policy is going forward? And the policy going forward now is no sidewalk is required.
Required, but it's up to public works.
Right.
unless Public Works changes.
So I think if there was an area with sidewalks, the Public Works Department might require it if it was gonna connect sidewalk. That's just a guess.
So right, so that, let's just say that there is no plan from Public Works currently
To require sidewalks
in Heather Gardens
or
or
Mhm.
anywhere.
anywhere,
Yeah, and it's on a case by case basis.
correct.
Yeah, okay, let's just say that.
And I've responded to her to say that's what the current.
Yeah, okay.
It's,
You
the
know,
policies just changed.
Historical.
Public
interesting
Works
fact
Director's
about William Avenue, that was planned to be a through fare all the way
Right.
to the highway.
To the highway,
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
William Avenue was originally built with the idea
Yeah.
that it was gonna
right through the middle of
What,
the
pre the
So-
school?
yeah, past Redwood, all the way to 101. So it was gonna be one of the egresses from Larkspur. to go to the
Wow.
highway. And then so environmentalists stopped it because of it going through the wetlands.
Mm,
And the plan was to go along the old train tracks all the way.
okay.
Anyway, just a thought.
Does that give you what you need on this?
Yep.
Okay.
And
Thank
then
you.
the general plan item is gonna be kicked to another meeting.
Oh, okay.
It's
I was wondering
finished
if we
either.
didn't have
Oh,
anything for it.
great,
Okay.
well done.
All right, then, I guess does anyone have a motion to?
No, let's do planning commissioners reports.
Oh, yeah, are there any planning commissioners reports?
No.
You have fun.
I did have a question though. I see that they're putting steel in the foundation of the library. Did they have a permit? Because they didn't last time I talked to them.
Oh,
They have, I think they've applied for a foundation specific permit that is, I believe, close to or been issued. They have a couple different, I think they have like a site work permit,
Yeah.
then they have a foundation, and then there's one for the actual.
They definitely have applied for a foundation permit. It could have been issued today, potentially.
Yeah, let me.
Wait, city projects have to get permits? I did not know that.
Yeah. It's really cool to see all that stuff going on there.
oh, it is. It is really cool. Did they raise their funding for the landscaping?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay.
Yep.
Now it's time to raise funding for everything else.
And
I mean, there's still.
Maintenance.
they're still collecting.
TCF is still raising
Money.
funds for, I mean, there's a lot of things we can do.
Books.
No, that's what Friends of the Library does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Books, libraries.
probably not. No. And do we know what's going to be on the next planning meeting?
Yes, we should be sending out notices tomorrow. 56 Diane has returned or is returning with a revised design. We have a small retaining wall project in the Greenbrae Hills. And then we'd have a planning commission general plan finding for a property that, or a piece of like a strip of one of those little skinny strips of land in Madrone Canyon that an adjacent landowner wants to purchase and the city wants to sell them the little strip of land. You have to make a general plan finding that it's consistent.
Is it one redwood? No. just
No.
kidding.
No, it's not, but yeah, good
Oh,
memory.
interesting.
I think it's even
Um,
smaller.
If you talk to Heather, right, would you have her reach out to the neighbors again? Because I'm getting neighbors haven't heard anything. They've seen the story poles have been
Changed.
changed.
Okay.
Um,
Well, so the notices will go out tomorrow. We can, yeah, we could tell them.
Oh, 56
I'll
Diane,
talk to
and
neighbors.
you're recused on
And
that.
the notices, so the plans are online. If anyone talks to you, we've already put them on,
Okay,
I put them on actually the work, so the agenda,
she
the
shared.
agenda
with
will
me,
be
but-
posted online with
Yeah.
the materials tomorrow for the new plans. It's almost finished.
Okay, and are
And
we
then
all
the
here?
agenda, sorry, the public notice has the image of the new front elevation. So the neighborhood will be able to see at least at a glance what it's going to look like, even if they don't look up the plan.
Are we all here in the next meeting? The 25th? We all here? Are you here? Yeah. Yeah, great.
Yeah, we'll be here.
All right,
All right, can I have a motion for adjournment, please?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
All in favor?
Ah.
Aye.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.